So first of all, a very good morning to you all, ladies, gentlemen, and the esteemed panel. Today we are here to discuss a very thought-provoking topic, especially in the given that we are doing this in the ADR week. We're going to talk about something that's staring all of us in the face: how technological advancements are reshaping the dispute resolution process as a whole. Uh, but before I do that, let me kind of spend a minute introduce the panel. So my panel has a ton of experience, and let me just run you through each one of them. Vijay, on my right, is a partner with PNL Law Offices. Is based in their Mumbai office. He's a dispute resolution lawyer with close to a decade and a half of experience. Focuses on international commercial disputes, contractual and commercial disputes, and also dabbles with white collar crime. Uh, he's represented not only Indian and overseas clients, but interestingly, he's also represented a lot of PSU clients. And given the challenges around data, how you deal with PSUs, I think the audiences would be really interested in knowing how what are your experiences been in around that place. He's also a fellow of Chartered Institute of Arbitrators and also holds the coveted diploma in international commercial arbitration. Uh, my second panelist is Sumit. Sumit is a partner with PwC and leads their disputes and investigations practice. Close to 25 years of experience, largely assisted in large financial investigations, anti-bribery reviews. Uh, Also focuses on dispute assistance and in investigations for a wide spectrum of organizations. Uh, he is a chartered accountant and is also a certified fraud examiner and is based out of PwC's Delhi office. My next panelist is Atul. Atul is also a partner with PwC and leads their forensic technology practice. Close to a decade and a half of solid experience, leading e-discovery mandates, fraud risk management, and AML experience. He's a certified public accountant from USA and is also a certified fraud examiner. Likes to also focus on misconduct diagnostics, and we would like to hear a little bit about that as well. Um, with that, you know, while talking about technology, or legal technology, or as it's called now, legal tech. It's grown in sophistication. It's brought many benefits to the stakeholders, and I'm sure each one of you would like to understand how is it going to affect, or how is it affecting us today? How is it going to affect us going forward? Uh, it's technology has touched us in more ways than what we could have imagined, let's say 5 years back, how it's affecting us today, right from the way we shop to the way we do our children's parent-teacher reviews to the way we are doing dispute resolution today. I think it's kind of surrounded us all. And every major change requires a catalyst, and I think COVID-19 has been a large catalyst and has accelerated the acceptance of legal technology and the way it has started affecting dispute resolution process. Uh, in a recent survey done by Singapore International Dispute Resolution Academy, and it was not a limited review, they kind of polled people from close to 46 odd countries. Three major areas kind of emerged as services where legal professionals feel that legal tech is really taking center stage and are more important. First is, of course, e-discovery. Second is a process where you create platforms for conducting dispute resolution. And the third is, of course, a very interesting field which I'm sure we could discuss more on the top panel, is analytics for appointment of judges and arbitrators. Right? So this is what the legal fraternity across 46 countries feels is going to be, are the more important facets of legal technology. But with that, we've got a solid panel. Let's hear from them, and I'm going to move on to the panel. And Vijay, would you, before we step into some of the themes that we've kind of identified for discussion, do you want to talk about some of your initial impressions about this field and how is going to reshape the dispute resolution process, your experiences and opening shots?
Sure. Thanks for that introduction, and it's a very timely topic that we have chosen today. And as we sit here with the objective of all stakeholders to make India an arbitration-friendly seat, I mean, this topic is very timely, as I said, because COVID-19 was a great leveler. And when courts were shut, completely shut, when people couldn't move out, we had no choice but to resort to technology. That was out of compulsion, but it also taught us that hearings can be managed online, evidence can be led online, witnesses can be cross-examined online, documents can be presented online. So there's no need of, physically meeting, and hearings can be conducted efficiently. And not just hearing, managing documents, you know, e-discovery and stuff like that. So yes, it's a great transition from, and I've had arbitrations where, a witness would sit, look for documents for hours and hours, and the parties would just wait because the witness said he can't answer the question without going through the documents, and it would waste a lot of time. So we have come quite far from where we were, and I hope the future is going to be better only with the use of technology, with a measured use of technology, I would say, because there are still certain human elements like cross-examination of a witness, where the demeanor of a witness, the knowledge of a witness is tested, and the physical impressions do matter sometimes. But in areas such as documents only arbitration, where the entire focus is on documents, I think we can completely do away with physical meetings, uh, reduction of costs and stuff like that, which we'll talk about later. So that's my initial thought, that the entire virtual hearing scenario and every technology associated with it has brought about a great change in the way we resolve disputes, and it's going to stay here.
Thanks, Atul. Very interesting insights. And just a quick trivia, I think the industry, the legal tech industry is growing at a rate of 23% YOY and slated to grow even further as technology kind of penetrates, further into the Indian legal system as such. But with that, Sumit, initial thoughts from you on the subject?
Thanks, Abhijit, and I think I would agree with Vijay, particularly on the aspect that the COVID entirely changed the scenario for many fields, including the legal fraternity, how the cases were handled, and the dispute resolution process as well. But I'll just take a step back and talk about technology in general, right? Technology in general has changed our lives starting from the 90s when with the WWW coming in, right? It's they're shaping multiple things as we look at from perspective of legal or dispute resolution process. Traditionally, dispute resolution was associated with long, tedious, procedural battles with numerous files being produced as evidence. What's changing is it's becoming far more, what do you say, it's pointed at the right set of documents. There is use of virtual reality, there's use of augmented reality where the case scenarios are being built and understood by all the parties. There are modeling which is happening. So I think the advent of technology is anyways, was anyways supposed to make changes in the, the way the dispute resolution is happening. Now, with technology, other aspect which comes is the challenges which it brings. And I think we are going to dwell into that as we speak. There is associated risks there is associated, safeguards which need to keep in place. And I think as we look at how technology is going to shape the future of dispute resolution, it'll be important to understand and be wary of these challenges. Be it to do with tampering of evidence, means we do see a lot of cases where the issue is to do with how a particular evidence is tampered with. Now that's not unique to only technology. That has been a subject or a matter of abuse in a conventional way as well. But technology can help solve some of this problem, and I think it's good that we are talking about these things. Would be good to talk in detail.
That's very, very relevant points, Sumit. Thank you for the opening shots from your end. And I think tampering of evidence, and I think there's very little merit in embracing anything new without really understanding the challenges as you've brought about, right? So understanding challenges and therefore, and I'm sure there's a little bit of body of work that you've done about looking for these challenges, etc., that we will look forward to hear from you. But with that, Atul, moving on to you, given that legal tech is very close to your heart and you lead forensic technology for PwC, would like to understand your opening shots as to what keeps you awake, what's really happening in your world, really.
Thank you, Abhijit, and what a wonderful panel we have. For me to take away lots of learnings and provide some contributions from my side. I was talking to one of my team members in the morning, and it said, technology has powers to enable quick resolution in any disputes, but also has more powers to create more disputes. So, and some of the statistics that you mentioned in the morning on online disputes growth, from 17% CAGR, you said. So all of us will be in business for some time, looks like, so that's something which is not a problem. But, as Sumit rightly mentioned, the evolution of technology as such. Technology has been a word, will be the word. I think it's a philosophy, not something that, we will achieve. It doesn't have an end goal. Once we achieve something, we keep on further enhancing to it. It's a philosophy that we all, live with. It has transformed a lot and affected all aspects of our lives, including what we do on dispute resolutions, which we will cover some of the aspects into the questions that the moderator has presented to us. Let's see how it goes. But for me, it's a journey from where we started, where we are. But the bigger question is, where do we go from here? Let's just try and see the inputs from all of us and see if it makes sense. Thank you so much, Abhijit. And also, before you start, I think the audience would like to have your introduction as well, because you have lots of quality experience. But please, just take a 2-minute thing and then introduce yourself as well.
Thanks. So I'm Abhijit. I also work with PwC. I'm a partner in their forensics practice and close to 25 years of experience, largely dealing with fraud investigations. Have deployed multiple tools and services of Atul and his expertise. Look, today you don't have to sift through reams of paper. You have to sift through terabytes of data. You have to deduplicate it, because a lot of it is going to be duplicated. A lot of it is going to be irrelevant. So how does one really do it? I mean, today is not an issue about information, it's about too much of information. And that's what one has learned as to how do you bring an investigation or a dispute into focus as against kind of, running all over the place. It's not about really now finding the needle in the haystack, it's actually finding the haystack in the barn, in which you're going to find then the needle in that haystack. So the problem is only magnified itself as against, bringing it into focus. But taking this discussion forward, and I think, so there are these very relevant points that Sumit made, and which also, echoes or resonates with, I think, all of us. On one side is the efficiency that technology has brought in case management. On the other side is authenticity or integrity of information. How do you really trust the information? How do all the stakeholders trust in the information or in the system really? advantages to the case manager are quite obvious. You can slice and dice the same information in multiple ways now. You can give access to multiple people simultaneously. They can make their own changes without really tampering with the evidence, as you said. But at the same side, while there are various tools for integrity or ensuring integrity, uh, blockchains, digital signatures, etc. But I think there's still some trust deficit, right? And that brings me to my first question, really. And I want to ask Vijay, basis your experience, has digital case management system improved the speed and accuracy of document retrieval within the dispute resolution system? Uh, and if yes, how does technology enhance the authenticity and integrity of the data? One thing is to increase speed. The other thing is that you're increasing speed with increased amount of doubt in your mind. So how do you really negotiate with this?
It's a very relevant question, and of course, it has increased the speed many folds. And I'll talk about two particular arbitrations that I've been a part of. Still, we have a long way to go as far as domestic arbitrations are concerned, domestic ad hoc arbitrations, because many times you have retired high court judges sitting as arbitrators. But this trend is more in international commercial arbitrations where parties by consent choose a case management system. So you were talking about authenticity. So the authenticity comes primarily from the fact that a tribunal is comfortable with a particular service provider, and the bundles of hearing are prepared by both the parties, by the claimant as well as the respondent. So while these tech platforms have their individual safety mechanisms, a lot depend on the parties. How the parties filter the data, what is being uploaded on the software, and how is it being presented to the tribunal. So these bundles are sorted with consent, where both the claimant and the respondent has a say. So you could say that an active participation of both the disputing parties to a great extent minimizes any authenticity questions, right? And as far as the speed and efficiency is concerned, so I'll give you an example. I spoke about these two arbitrations. So one of the arbitrations that we did was in peak COVID. 3 arbitrators in 3 different jurisdictions. The experts were in different jurisdictions. Counsel for both Indian party, one Indian party and one, of course, was in USA. Counsel were in London, different time zones. So the case management worked very efficiently with all concerned. Of course, the lawyers had to train themselves to speak the right bundle number, what the service provider was putting on the screen. So once you became conversant with that, like in a flip, the document would come on the screen, which is amazing because when it comes to physical hearings, you have to flip through documents, search for the documents. Of course, you can flag documents, etc. But this was different level, not a piece of paper and people sitting in different jurisdictions were a part of this arbitration, and it was conducted very successfully. The other arbitration, which incidentally was a physical arbitration, again seated overseas, even in a physical arbitration, and this is where there lies a difference between how people overseas have adopted technology. So law firms have, abroad, they have these teams who in-house do case management. And even in a physical hearing, you could see the bundle system work very efficiently. And there was very little paper on the table when even counsel were arguing. So that's the sort of difference case management and technology has brought. Yes, there are issues relating to authenticity, but institutional rules in particular have come with certain protocols to minimize, if not completely eliminate this risk. But it also, as I said, depend on the parties, how the parties can arrive at a consensus and agree to a procedure that what will be considered authentic or not. So,
Oh, very well put. And in fact, my my key point here, and which I think later on when I move to Atul, you could touch upon it, which is a comfort of the lawyers and the concerned parties on a particular platform. Now, why I'm saying, Atul, you could add later, or you could do it now, is, we are talking about integrity and authenticity, and obviously, given that this is all tech, it is open to a cyber attack, it's open to a breach of data, etc. While I might be comfortable to a particular system, that system might be getting outdated. There might be newer tech, and that newer tech might be in the domain of people like Atul. And I have experienced it where you're pushing a particular platform to the lawyers or to the counsel. They're like, listen, look, my team is not comfortable doing this. I still want to do. And I remember back in the day, we used to have a e-discovery tool called Ringtail. And there was this huge resistance to move from Ringtail to relativity. My teams are not comfortable using relativity, right? So, Atul, Sumit, before I come to you, can I just, Atul, how do you, and should, or what should, us as a larger community do to embrace newer technology?
Okay, so let's take a step back, and according to me, there are four key components of any technology, and tools which are based on those technologies. The first one is how do I prevent or preserve my data? So that's the number one aspect. I think Sumit, 10 years ago we did a matter together where probably there were email data and financial data, in any organization. Now, there is an email data, there is a financial data, there is a Google Drive data, there is a OneDrive data, there are communicators, the people are talking on communicators, chat rooms, meeting rooms, then Dhruva, backups. Some of the data is being shared through online SharePoint folders. From any completeness perspective, these are the four components I was talking about. So the data is huge now. First of all, prevention and preservation is the key from any cyber attacks or any outside. Then the next component comes, which is an A-access, which is accessibility of that data. How soon I can access that data, because the data size is now terabytes. Then comes the E, how efficient for me is to create, some meaningful concepts of the data as a reporting, monitoring mechanisms for me to get a real-time situation as to where am I at any given point in time. Can I go back 15 days from now? Okay, this was the data. Then, of course, the fourth component, which to me is very critical, is the quality of the data. Now, in any dispute, because, and all the sources of data that I just mentioned, which are upcoming now, and I think there is a newer concepts by some of the more, advanced technology firms are doing that, you and I can work on same document together. The whole idea of this is that we do not create multiple copies of the same data, which probably is a waste of time, energy, money, when it's required. So the deduplication activity that we used to do, I think that's going to probably change a little in terms of, how we used to do, because after 5 years, you may not see multiple copies of the documents within the organizations. However, as I said, but there has to be a mechanism wherein we could track as to, what was this document 15 days from now or at a specific date. So a lot is changing, I'm sure, and all the technologies which are being built are basis on similar logics. So the next component, which I think is very important aspect, is consistent use of one technology, because more or less, the basic premise of all tools are same. There may be few edges with some things and probably some advantages of one tool over the other, but the basic premise is primarily the same or similar. So consistent use. Then technology has aspects of, self-improvisation that you just talked about, artificial learning. Now any system is learning with the data that it receives, regardless whether you enable that function or disable that function, it's learning. So use of technology, consistent use of technology, same technology, I think that's going to a little more advisable, be it Ringtail, Relativity, or any other tools which are accepted. Currently, we're using something which is accepted by the courts, and then adapting it to our needs. Relativity customization is different with different industry and different firms. So those are the two things which are very, very important. First, the baseline of the tool or technology you're using, and then of course the consistency of your use in order to be more efficient within those. Sumit, your thoughts on it?
No, I think very, very rightly put, Atul. The thing I think one needs to be conscious or be careful of when you use technology, and I wanted to, Vijay wanted to touch upon that when you talk about the case management thing. See, technology, while at one point it's solving a lot of problem, right? And particularly when it comes to the dispute resolution process, it is also helping in many manners, making sure that the integrity of the data is enabled and can be assured. Authenticity of the evidence can be assured in the legal proceedings by way of creating various process and mechanisms and using various tools which are available within the technological platforms. So there is this concept of digital signature. Every document will have a digital signature attached with it. While in a manual scenario, you may not be able to pinpoint to a particular person, but document has a digital signature, so it helps in the process, right? You look at time stamping of the documents, right? You look at chain of custody. Each of the electronic evidence, if handled properly, can actually tell you what is the original, who handled it, where it is, It's unlike the physical evidence where the chances of tampering are high, while the chances of tampering remain high in electronic evidence, but a lot can be traced back with right tools, technology, and expertise. And then you have, today you have techniques to even authenticate video and audio. Google has some tools. We use a tool to authenticate documents. We call it image analytics tool, right? We use it actively on our projects. How it helps, it actually gives you access to, or it gives you the speed to scan through numerous documents and see whether there is tampering, duplication, and so on. So it gives you immediate results. We are currently handling a case, it's a dispute-related case, where we are scanning through tons and tons of data. The numbers are running into millions. These are identification documents associated with people, which we are looking for any duplicates, any tampering, and so on. And we are able to look at millions of documents in a span of 15 minutes and still give a comfort back which will be admissible in any dispute that, this tool has given us these results which are valid. So imagine the power of technology and how it helps us authenticate documents in a legal or a dispute or even other investigative situations. We are currently in the same scenario. We are looking at almost 1 million plus documents or line items every month, which needs to be validated for various parameters and which we are able to do using technology. And we are certain that whatever case one puts up can be admissible, right? So that's the power when you talk about the case management, that's the power it is given. The only thing, and I always add with the caveat of, the challenge, are the experts able to also educate the wider population? Because what's going to happen? Vijay is well versed with this technology. Are all the councils well versed with how this technology is helping, and do they see this as an enabler? Similarly, the processes of court or arbitration, they need to enable themselves to be able to use this technology. I think those are going to be, case management is going to be a thing which technology will ease a lot as we go forward. It's just that we have to create this infrastructure environment which facilitates that use far more effectively.
I think all three of you were very well put, and my key takeaways are, while Vijay said about key comfort about the key stakeholders, etc. Atul has spoken about these four components of any platform, really. I mean, be it a case management platform, be it an authenticator platform, and what you know, Sumit, you brought out is I think is the key kicker, as I would like to call it, and which is authenticator. Some of these authentication tools, such as digital signatures, timestamp, chain of custody, etc. This is going to build the confidence of the ecosystem in these, in these tools, and the ecosystem is only going to embrace, and the use of technology is only going to accelerate, provided there is education. Education is going to come from more usage. That's what I think Atul brought out, consistent use of technology. So I think we've all gotten used to this. I mean, there was a time when a colleague would say, you would ask, आपको mail भेजने के लिए बोला था, and he was like, भेजा था मैंने. And today, that excuse is no longer valid, right? अगर भेजा था तो मिलेगा. An email just doesn't get dropped like that, right? A message bheja tha. People would actually give that excuse. I actually sent you a message, and there would be no message. But today, I think everybody is now educated to a level that, hey, listen, that's not an excuse, that's valid, right? So I think as the ecosystem does consistent use, embraces authentication tools, the comfort level will only increase. So I think very well covered this initial trade-off point about case management and embracing technology versus some of the authenticity and integrity issues that we had. Moving on to the next issue about data analytics and predictive modeling. And I think it's a natural progression of this discussion, right? While dispute resolution as a process could be rather expensive, also could be cumbersome insofar as the time domain is concerned. Now, technology is helping cut down some of this. But I believe, I would like to hear from you all that how can technology help us in predict early warning signals, predict the probability of winning a case. Atul, I wanted to ask you this, that, can technologies, AI or machine learning, be used to predict dispute-like situations? That means early warning situations that, hey, listen, I'm headed towards a dispute. Could you predict that at an early stage, probably, right? Or, can predictive analytics tools determine how courts will rule in a specific legal case? So, from your experience, Atul, do you want to?
Yeah, so let me just give you a live example. 15 years ago, I attended a conference like this, and one of my partners wanted me to summarize one of the sessions I attended as a listener. It took me about 2 days to go back. I had some papers, I had some recordings which I could. Now, as we are speaking, there is a tool which is recording each and every statement. It's right here on the monitor. If I click one button, summarize this, it will give me a summary in 30 seconds. 2 days of job done in 30 seconds. Now, let's move the same concept into, so artificial intelligence is probably, to my mind, at a layman's language, non-technical language, is nothing but somebody reading and analyzing much faster at a human pace. It is translating, it is reading, it is summarizing and giving me something. So now imagine you have all the data points in disputes, where was the dispute happened, what was the matter, who was the mediator, who was the arbitrator, and what was the outcome. Number one. Can I decide whether to go on this dispute or not if I have this data available? Look into my situation. Maybe 10 years before, I would still be yes or a no, but now I have a clear answer, statistics. Okay, 72% chances that you will win, because of the kind of disputes you are inputting into the system. Now, there are two kind of, artificial intelligence which can be probably, be helpful or probably impact this business. One is, of course, we all said ChatGPT. It's nothing but, faster learning and analyzing data. Second set of artificial intelligence, like an LLM model, where you can custom train any system into specific learnings that you want them to. So that will, of course, be impact depending upon the kind of dispute, whether it's a shareholder, customer, contractual between two parties, delays and everything. So those pockets, I'm sure AI will definitely play an important role in terms of assessing an overall aspect. Winning percentage is one, but assessing the overall aspect, whether you should move into this or not. Now, the next question you ask on the predictive, whether there could be a dispute or not. Interesting question, I'm sure. This was, that kind of technology will be slightly different because all organizations are recording transactions. 5 years ago, if you do an event, this kind of data will not get generated, but now we are getting this data generated. So organizations are generating data on, every millisecond basis. So now, imagine you are an investor and you want to predict whether there could be a dispute with this organization or not, or a prediction of a dispute. This can give you early warnings from your daily reportings or an hourly reportings of the operations of the company and the kind of transactions that they are doing. So those are the things which can be implemented or probably monitored in order to predict a possible dispute that may happen. What is the reporting line of the financials, operations, whatever the key metrics that you put into customers, shareholders, as I said, multiple aspects of disputes. What was the third point you mentioned about? I guess we covered everything.
I think we've covered just two large points, right? Can you predict, and can you outcome, and can you predict if a dispute is going to happen? So fair to say that you can probably, to a 70% probability, predict outcome, and technology to predict whether there will be a dispute or not is on the horizon. I mean, you're not saying it's not there.
I mean, it could be. There are some pockets we are working on it. There are many tech giants who are working on ODR models, and it's not only one. I'm happy that it's not a monopolistic market. There are many players who are doing these ODRs and creating that databases and giving all of us an option to make an informed decision. We may choose to ignore what percentages are coming, what are the qualitative and quantitative aspects which are given, but we are taking an informed decisions, unlike before, where we were more towards the gut feeling and to after effect. Okay, let's find, and then we'll see where we go. So it's like you have something or the other to plan action much in advance than later.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people who are, entering a litigation or a dispute at a later stage. For example, a litigation funder, for him, and a probability like that is, I'm sure, very useful. But I saw Sumit raising his hand. Sumit, you wanted to add? Please go ahead.
I'll let Vijay add, but I'll just add one point, and I think Atul covered it, that gut versus use of tools. Let me give maybe an example which is very different from what we are talking about. For those who have seen the movie Moneyball, right? It's all about how can you predict outcome based on analytics, past behavior, and the probability. So I guess that movie, for us who are using data analytics techniques in our day-to-day work, teaches a lot of things about how you can put use of analytics on any scenario. And nobody would have thought that how can you build a team which is going to win the Super League of baseball based on purely analytics and not by the gut. Okay, he's a good player, I need to have him. Rather than that, go with the analysis. So I was just going to say the same thing, that instead of using the gut, I think use of data will become the way of the future, because you can do it now.
I have in principle, I agree with the panel, but I would say that AI can act in complement with lawyers actually, in predicting the outcome of a potential dispute. Yes, data will be helpful, but at times what happens is that lawyers go through, decided cases, what were the principles based on which the court decided a particular matter. And there are instances of courts deciding a case on first principles. So yes, data can act as a complement to reduce the efforts of lawyers in going through a number of cases. But in principle, a lawyer will have to take a call to advise a client whether to settle a dispute amicably or go in for litigation. The same goes for predictability. It's a useful data to have in terms of predictability. Based on that, the lawyers can give a reasoned advice to their clients that whether it's worth spending the money.
Very well put. I think I agree with all the points made. especially how to pick, who is going to throw base. Very well made point. And I think the last word in technology is not yet out, right? The verdict is not yet out. I mean, 25, 30 years back, I remember, or maybe 35 years back, I'm growing old. When we used to watch Star Wars, they used to have this flip open phones, and it was really hard to imagine that इसमें तार नहीं लगा हुआ, ये phone कैसे हो सकता है? And today, I mean, it's difficult to imagine a phone with a cable attached to it. So what's going to be the
It was
next?
a Pushpak Viman in
Pushpak.
Ramayan.
But that brings us to the next theme, and which is about virtual courtroom proceedings. While it enabled you to do a proceeding with 4 jurisdictions, 5, 6 different time zones in play, etc. So obviously, a great amount of time saved, efficiency added, right? Because and also cost, all adding to quicker probably work, and more efficient work. But what I wanted to ask is that, have virtual arbitration proceedings, including the use of video conferencing, and the use of electronic data sharing platforms, right? Have they fundamentally altered procedural aspects, their effectiveness in an arbitration hearing, and do they significantly also alter the way evidence is presented and evaluated in a dispute case?
So there are 3, 4 elements to your question. Yes, virtual hearings and arbitration have become a norm now rather than, being an exception. People traveling from different places, different time zones at one venue. Of course, physical hearings are taking place still, but it saves a lot of time, a lot of costs, and a lot of institutions have come up with virtual hearing protocols. So you talked about procedures. So yes, procedurally it has made a difference. It has made a difference in terms of the logistics and use of virtual platforms has extended even to witness testimonies where witnesses are based elsewhere. And in fact, I've seen, and I also have the personal experience of conducting even cross-examination online. Although, as I said at the inception, that there are certain instances where the demeanor of a witness, etc., matter. But in a case where, the cross-examination is not going to be extensive, and mostly the case is going to be decided based on the documents, you can certainly go for a virtual mode of hearing or a hybrid mode of hearing where some people are physically present at a place and the remaining can join online. So yes, it has the entire post-COVID scenario has changed the way we do our arbitrations. It still needs to trickle down to some of our domestic arbitrations, and I'm sure it eventually will. What was the last leg of your question?
The last part was, has it altered the way evidence is either presented or evaluated, right?
Yes, the way evidence is being presented now has also changed because, to give you an example, email correspondence between the parties, let's say during the execution of a project, now parties do analyze those correspondence in the form of a graph or, in some form of analytics to show to the tribunal that this is the number of times we wrote to this person, but he did not respond, or this was his response. So digital efficiency is there while presenting evidence, in form of bundles that are easily accessible. But parties have also started analyzing evidence for the ease of the tribunal or the members of the tribunal. And it has inevitably led to them analyzing it differently as they would in a physical setup.
A fair point. Sumit, you want to add to this?
I think I would just like to add, as in the previous question, some of the challenges which comes with it. The virtual rooms are definitely increasing the speed and efficiency means the fact that digital evidence can be shown far more effectively in a virtual environment. The fact that remote witness, as Vijay alluded to. But I think 2-3 things one has to look, as I see some of the aspects which come with it. See, one is that how is the data privacy and security around sensitive information is taking place, right? In a virtual environment, the chances of leakages are higher as compared to the manual environment, right? We are looking at hacking and so on. So what does it do? And particularly in the environment where we have stricter regulation than earlier on the data. There is TPDP Act, there is GDPR rules, so one has to keep that into consideration. Second, and I'd like Vijay to add, time permitting, that have we established the right rule set for virtual evidence in all the court proceedings or all the arbitration proceedings? To my knowledge, means I'm not a lawyer, but I think it's still to evolve. So that's another thing one has to work on. The fact that all this can be done with speed also requires a lot of expertise, right? The expertise to make sure that data is presented in the right manner, it's validated, checked, experts have seen it, there is chain of custody which we spoke about, forensically admissed and so on and so forth. So I think one has to keep these things in mind while if you look at technology changing the way the courts were operating, that started happening, correct, right? Changing from manual to electronic data and so on, that was happening already. But now with the virtual courtroom, the way I see it, one, code as a space will still be there. Vijay, if you disagree on that, right? Because that is, it's not going to become an overall virtual environment where there is no physical space. That still is there. There are procedures attached which need to be, taking place. In 2050, means 20 years, 30 years from now, will we move to that virtual environment? We use this virtual, but virtual is actually only the procedure. The office will still be there. So I think those are some of the things we need to keep in mind. And if we do crystal gazing, I think that's going to be the future in
we'll come to that.
Decades. Vijay, I don't know whether you want to add on the procedural part, particularly whether we have created.
I completely agree with you. As far as courts are concerned, formal courts are concerned, we are not going to do away with courts completely. And the endeavor here is to select a set of cases which can be effectively dealt with through virtual hearings, like appeals, which do not entail any sort of witness examination. So I think it's going to be more of a hybrid mode as far as courts are concerned. But I think in the realm of arbitration, we are going to see more and more virtual hearings, even to the extent of, let's say, 75 to 80% maybe.
All right, we need to be kind of running out of time, but Atul, I'm sure you have presented in the recent developments evidence, and how is it different from what you probably do, let's say 5 years back or 6 years back, and is it evolving, is it changing, the way it is A, administered, and B, how it is evaluated?
So it has changed, of course, from paper to all electronic. But then some of the aspects which are coming, of course, is the summary part of it. Admission has not changed from, it's just the process, as Sumit mentioned. The essence has not changed, from paper to electronic. But I think it's a more of a summary, and reading through everything and then creating a summary will make an impact from here on. Room full of evidences versus a summarized, read through version of each and every paper will probably make a difference. I think in the interest of time, I should have some questions from the audience as well.
I think we've got time for one last question.
Sure.
And the question is an interesting one. And I think it should be in the interest of everybody to listen to this one, right? Which is, what are the best practices going forward? In the sense, what should be the tailored strategies in this space as a practitioner, as a client, as a counsel, and what do you recommend? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each one of you just three best strategies that you could rapid fire shoot. And let's start with Vijay.
I think, first of all, it has to be a mix of both, use of technology and physical presence both, because again, to reiterate my point, at times you do need physical presence to conduct, let's say, cross-examination. That's one. In certain types of cases which do not require any witness testimony, virtual hearings should become a norm rather than an exception. And lastly, I would say, we must impart, or endeavor must be made to impart training in this regard by conducting similar kind of workshops, seminars to practitioners and to all stakeholders alike, so that, the transition that we are talking about, or, when technology, how can technology help us resolve disputes better? So I think more training workshops and more awareness.
Thank you. Sumit, coming to you, given that technology can both, not only expedite, but can also complicate disputes, three best strategies to adopt for the ecosystem. Vijay has already said, hybrid is the way forward, virtual is a norm, and training is essential.
Yeah, so there may be a little bit of repetition because I may say it in different words, but I think use of blockchain type of technology for authentication, particularly as it comes to contracts and financial transactions, is going to be one of the tools which will help speed up the process, bring efficiency, transparent, and evidence is tamper-proof usually. The second one, I think, would be to do with, again, the virtual environment, how we can speed up the process. Means arbitration and other legal proceedings in this, in our country particularly, has a lot of delays. So by use of technology, remote access, speeding up the process will be another thing, I think, which one must, all of us as professionals should do. And third, which is more to do with us, use of experts, because when you're using technology, it's very important to ensure authenticity, chain of custody, admissibility, for which, it's very important to keep in mind that we use the right set of experts, be it from a legal fraternity side, legal tech as you call it, or forensic.
Fantastic. Again, quickly to sum up, authenticate, virtual environment, speed it up, and use of experts. Atul, the glare is on you.
No, I think in addition to what has already been said, I believe this whole thing is going towards a marketplace in the next 4 or 5 years. To put it simpler, it could be an e-commerce platform wherein experts, mediators, case references, lawyers, experts, everyone is available in that portal with all the references, case materials, historic data, futuristic data, predictive futuristic data will be available. There probably will be, online marketing, online advertisement, just like we have on other social media in this space. And there could be more than one exchange, e-commerce, as we know globally. But yes, I think everyone is moving towards that. So all the efforts, from everyone's side, whosoever is contributing to the dispute resolution process, right from, start to end, should think technology as a philosophy. How can they be more relevant and in the overall process of faster disputes and accurate disputes?
Thank you. I think with that, let's call a wrap on the panel discussion. But I think as a panel, when we were discussing the general flow of what we're going to talk about, I think we were unanimous in saying that let's do some crystal gazing. So crystal ball gazing, let's talk about, what does the future hold for technology in dispute resolution? And with that, I also want to open up, the house for any questions. If anyone from the audience wants to ask any question, And let's steer it towards a future-looking discussion, as against. I'm sure the panel will be happy to take any relevant question. But if you want to take it to the future, we've got, I think, some solid gravitas here to kind of help you do that. Yeah, please.
Good morning, sir. So my name is Akash. I'm a Supreme Court lawyer. Recently, the Mediation Act came into being. And when we go through the act, we find that it is missing upon the future aspect. Like, it is not talking about blockchain, smart signature, or any other aspect like this, which according to me looks like a chain upon the future development of mediation or arbitration in India, sir. So that's the first point that I want to make. And the second point is regarding the use of the artificial intelligence as the way forward. Like recently, 6 months back, a report came out that in Netherlands, artificial intelligence was used to determine whether the loan should be given to a particular client or not. And when an analysis was being carried out, it was found out that it was biased towards the people who are from Asian origin or from the African origin. The reason being the people who have coded it or say brought into being were Europeans, or maybe they had a bias towards the Asiatic origin or the African origin. So, sir, these are some of the dangers that we have. Firstly, the old mindset of the legislatures that they are not bringing in technology, and second, the way who are bringing technology with what mindset they are bringing it up. So, sir, how can we deal with such dual challenges in the future?
Thanks. I think fairly in Vijay's domain. I think Vijay, could you cover the legal aspect of this, and Atul, could you cover about how or what can we do so that AI is not biased? Really, is there some technological checkpoint? Is there? You could talk about could there be a regulator trying to look at that there should be no biases in technology going forward?
See, two things. You spoke about the Mediation Act. Let's see, it's definitely a start. From nowhere, it's a start. And as we have seen, as we've all navigated through COVID, and as we are conducting cases online today, so maybe the statute does not itself have something inbuilt, but perhaps as we go on in practice, people will realize that technology is ultimately going to help, and maybe at some point you'll see amendments perhaps, or the use of technology even during mediation. So you don't need to necessarily have something in the rule book to say that you can adopt technology. As I said, as we have seen through COVID and through virtual hearings. So I don't see that as a major roadblock, and I'm sure in future it's going to be, technology is going to play a role in mediation as well. The second, you spoke about AI you gave that example. So again, any technology needs some time to evolve over a period of time. So while this may have been an instance of, as you said, bias towards a particular community, but I think with certain, moderations, iterations in future, I'm sure we'll be able to, navigate through this as well.
I mean, I don't know the specific of the case that you mentioned, but AI to me, if you have an automated car in the US and an automated car in India, they will drive left-hand side, we will drive right-hand side, even the same AI. So AI is nothing but the way you train the machine with the sample data set and the transactions you do on an ongoing basis. If, I'm just assuming, if in that learning set, there are population which is 80-90% of the same community, area or location, the results may look biased. I'm not saying whether they weren't, but the results may look biased. So if we expand the data set, I think that's machine just reads, interprets, and give you an output.
There's a gentleman here.
My question is...
So sorry to break your stroke, but could you just introduce yourself? I mean, name, organization, and what you do there.
My name is Dr. Subhash Gupta. I am a retired Joint Secretary and Vice Chancellor of a university. For the last 20 years, I am doing arbitrations, both institutional as well as ad hoc. My question is use of technology from the point of view of an arbitrator in writing an award. And I use a bit of technology given my age. I am not that savvy as a young would be. Now, every document that I get is in a PDF format. Every evidence that I record is also recorded both in the voice module as well as in the written module. At the end of the arbitration, I am left with not less than 5,000 pages in a small arbitration. And if it's a construction or an infrastructure arbitration, the volume is much higher. The challenge comes to me in writing 100 pages out of those 10,000 pages. Where I can use the technology, that's my question.
Subhash, thank you. I think, Atul, you want to take this? And with that, I think, Sumit, you could also chime in if you've seen exam. Any one of you have seen.
You should
So it's very interesting that how the evolution from written pages to PDF has happened in our lifetime. Not many here would agree with that. Means I used to, when I started, we used to look at manual ledgers, and that time life was very, very easy. You know, all you need to do notings and then convert. But I think with advent of the changes, it has also given a lot of other tools in technology. Means I'll talk about a few and then I'll let Atul add. He's the expert. I don't know why he guided this question to me. So for PDF you have PDF readers which can carve out data. You mentioned about the case where arbitrators are looking at using technology to write the judgments. And actually, if you use AI and integrate that with the human intelligence, the result can be very nice. And I tell you why. See, AI will only pick up the data set which it is programmed to pick up. You look at ChatGPT today. If you have tried using it, it gives you results which are good to start, but you have to put human intelligence, human angle. There are other aspects which we need to build in. So once you start using AI, there are various tools available to actually put everything into a box, be it a PDF. In fact, today the programs are getting, the softwares are getting programmed to read the photos as well and collate all that information into what can be used as a summary, and then ultimately you have to bring it to fore. So I guess the tools available, be it to do with the OCRs of the word or the typical chat GPT are all there. Problem comes when it is to do with privacy, because any platform where you are feeding in data is also using that data to crowdsource multiple other information. So all those will need to be plugged, but I'm sure there are tools which Atul are going to talk about where you can use them to fast track some of the things which are becoming complicated because of the various type of data sets.
So Atul, we've kind of overrun our time. So 1 minute, 2 minute, keep it short. Yeah, I'm getting some dirty looks from the organizers here.
So, but thank you for your question, and I think, Sumit, I'm right by directing it to you, because you use two important words. One is the human intelligence, because, a machine can learn, but my only thing is, any sets of documents can be summarized. In any, you say 100 words, 200, 500, you can give a number and it can be done. How relevant is that is something that comes from human intelligence and the relevancy part of it. Quick example, we have about 2,000 odd, client emails, one of the client systems that we are working on, on a specific thing. And we were summarizing, and the machine was giving us responses related to the kind of communication it was. Be it business, some admin, some expense approval, some financial, all discussions were happening. But then we train the machine into finding something specific which could potentially give me indications of bribery. Then it's significantly reduced because because of the new added condition to the summary that I wanted to get from a relevancy standpoint. So I don't know specifics of this matter, but I think from a relevancy standpoint, if we have more inputs to the machine and add human intelligence, it can sort of give you to what you want really in a summarized fashion.
Vijay, you want to add quickly?
So, sir, nowadays lawyers are using a software which, anoints a PDF. You make a note at the sidebar, and it directly takes you to that particular segment.
Great. So I think we've come to the end. One more. We'll take one last question. Okay. What's the verdict? Understood. So anyways, thank you. I'd like to thank the panelists. Great insights. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you.